You are listening to the Bob and Kevin Show with Bob Beattybar
and Kevin Gishesky. Each week we cover relevant tech and social issues related to technology.
And more weeks than not, we're joined by special guests to add additional perspective to our topics.
Our website is bobandkevin.show.
And our episodes can be found on virtually any podcast network.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
Just search for Bob and Kevin Show.
Hey, Bob, what are we doing today?
Kevin, we've got a special guest. We'll call it quote unquote in studio, Andrew Barta joining us. And today we're going to talk about sponsorships, product reviews, and kind of social media influencers and how those things are perceived in the world with those product reviews. But I want to hijack things a little bit at the beginning and talk about, since, you know, we've got three dudes on the podcast again today. Hopefully that's not a forever trend. But talking about we're all tech related, and the uproar in the industry about no Googling or looking things up in books requirement for coding interviews. So there's a lot of back and forth going on social media about that. So I think we've got some opinions in the collective virtual room here. So without further ado, I am Bob from the Bob and Kevin Show. We've got Kevin down below me, and we've got Andrew Barta. Everyone, Kevin, say hello.
Hello.
And Andrew, take a couple seconds to introduce yourself and say hello.
Yes. Well, hello, everybody. I'm Andrew Barta. I guess my job title, if I'm defining myself that way, is North American Boots on the Ground.
We've got some technical difficulties right now. I can't hear Andrew. Kevin, can you hear Andrew?
I can hear Andrew, yes.
Ooh. How about now?
The technical difficulty was on my end, of course.
Can you hear us, Bob?
Yeah, you know, I faded the volume down by fading my volume down. So, of course, I can't hear any of you.
That'll happen sometimes.
Rumor has it I am not the best in the business, and that is exactly true. So, my bad. We're not going to take it from the top. I'll just pretend that Andrew, go ahead and say hello.
Yes, hello. I am Andrew Barta, and if I'm going to be defining myself based on my job title, I am the North American Boots on the Ground for the Umbraco HQ. And then I guess some other things about me is that I'm really into fitness, off-roading, motorcycles, and I travel around a lot. But that's mostly due to the job.
Is Boots on the Ground part of the technical title?
No, I guess the technical title is ATF, which is funny because do you guys know what ATF?
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms.
Yes, sir. So over at the HQ, it's American Trainer and Friend Maker. Over at the HQ, they always try to create little fun acronyms, 3-letter acronyms, and nobody in Denmark knew what ATF stood for. I figured everybody in the States knew it.
Yes.
It's definitely going to turn some heads, without a doubt.
It does. It gets a few grins and weird looks. So it's exactly, I think, what they were hoping for.
So, Bob, I do want to point out we need like a penalty system, because I would like to throw the penalty flag at you. And it's because you mentioned that I am below you and or above me. And I would like to remind you, this is an audio podcast and nobody has any idea what you're talking about. So therefore, I think you need to make a check payable for $1 to the Bob and Kevin Show fine fund.
Duly noted. I guilty as charged. So for everyone who's listening at home, we use video as part of the podcast to make it a little bit more organic. And for those of you who know me, know I'm a little ditzy at times. And when I say things like below and below, when you all can't see, that is definitely related to the ditziness. So the check is, as they say, in the mail.
So if I would, you kind of teased us. You want to kind of hijack today's episode with a little
just part of
something. Can you pay me off here? I want to know.
So I saw some Twitter noise today, and I've actually seen reference to this before. So apparently, in the tech industry, there's some rules about job interviews, and it's not going to be all companies, it's not going to be all instances, but people don't appreciate. So let's say I'm going in for an interview. Should probably mention thoughts and opinions of Bob and probably Kevin, and we'll say Andrew too. Those thoughts and opinions are ours and ours exclusively. Just a little disclaimer text there. But anyway, in a job interview situation, if I'm going into interview as a job as a developer, some people in the industry will not let those interviewees Google something, reference documentation or anything if there's an actual skills test as part of the interview. And some of the arguments that I've heard is like, first of all, people cry, well, that's ridiculous. But then there's other people that say, well, no, we hold doctors to a high standard. These are some arguments that I saw today. Hold doctors to a high standard and other professionals. But that's crap. Doctors study all the time.
Right. So basically what you're saying is if this played out in the real world and you got hired and that rule existed, you would not be allowed to Google your answer. Like, oh my gosh, I'm stuck here. I got a nice stack trace. It's telling me blah, blah, blah at line 52. I see that there. Scratch my head. I'm going to Google this. You're saying that if we played that in the real world, you would not be able to do that. Therefore, if you're allowed to do that in the real world, you should be able to do it in a job interview.
Correct.
Which I also have to say, the analogy to a doctor isn't necessarily, or like a surgeon, I guess is a better example, isn't like a one-to-one correlation, because if a part of a surgeon's job is to be able to go in there and effectively complete the job from A to Z, right? A developer's job is to complete that from A to Z, but we don't have to. A developer is not going to be inhibited or stop their flow by Googling something. Whereas if a surgeon had to stop to go reference a textbook before they could move forward, that would be a problem.
Well,
right.
Well, wait a second. Are doctors not allowed to have an assistant or notes go, hey, what's the next step? I mean, I would think. I mean, I've never been in an operating room. Is it possible?
I guess I would assume most surgeons probably have the procedure pretty much locked down.
Because I'm totally agreeing with you, but and then most people aren't going to die because you got a YSOD, right? Or a death, right? They're going to die if like the doctor's like, anyone seen that scalpel? Did we take it out? In there?
Where did that thing go?
Right. And you both touched upon some of the arguments were bantied around in this Twitter thread. The first guy was like, I wonder if you'd be comfortable with your cardiologist, neurologist, or OBGYN taking the same approach.
Well,
but it's not a fair comparison, as Andrew said.
I will posit what we're doing sounds sciencey and engineering, and yes, it is. But at the end of the day, I think we're more like woodworkers, like craftsmen of furniture, than we are doctors.
Yes,
I mean,
I heard this analogy a while back, and it was essentially that a programmer is similar to a carpenter or essentially skilled labor, as a computer scientist is to an architect. So essentially there's the higher level, like the PhD and the architect, who are like implementing doing the high level like designs, making sure that all the calculations are in place. And then essentially a developer, and same with like a framer of a house, they're going to go in there and build, which is not,
Yeah, because you're right. Because the architect's like, okay, we need a house. It needs to be 2-story. Here's the basic design. In fact, I'm going through building a new home right now. It doesn't tell you where to put the floor joists. Exactly. Yeah. They generically define the term, and then the framers, they come in and go, well, I've been doing this years. We could do it like this or like this. In this situation, we should be doing it like this because I have this experience. That's so to pull it all the way back to, should you be able to Google? Yeah, maybe, sure. But at the end of the day, I think we take ourselves way too serious in these interview processes, because I think before you even get to like, well, what do you know? Can we even get along with you? It's chemistry. And then, hey, if you don't know it, that's not a bad thing either. But if we're trying to be like, aha, we got you. You had to Google what a bubble sort was versus the other, the exact algorithm. It's like, what do we accomplish here? What did we accomplish here?
In fact, wouldn't it be more valuable to say, are you able to find the answer, as opposed to, do you know it right now?
Right.
Thank you. Because that's what you want to hire for. You want to hire somebody who's going to be able to find the answer, not someone who already knows the answer and possibly will never grow.
Exactly.
Here's one thing that maybe I'm part of the problem here. I would let you Google, get the Stack Overflow, but I would get you to the one that's got the wrong accepted answer and see if you actually go through the answers and go, you know what? I see the accepted answer, but the better solution might be this one right here. And just to see how, just to totally mess with you.
And actually, that's probably not, so you could this is getting totally speculative, but you could tier the interview process where tier 1 is, yes, we'll provide you the Stack Overflow page. Then you figure it out. Step 2, once they clear that hurdle or don't clear that hurdle, the next phase is you've got the wide open interwebs, Google to your heart's content.
Yeah, because so I was in the military, and I don't know if you know how the government works, or doesn't, but every military test I took was open book, and I think people might be shocked to know that every military test you take once you're in the military is open book. And I was in the Army, so in the Army. So let me qualify. I don't know about the Air Force; they're probably smarter. But anyway, so in the Army, I was a satellite technician. So my job was to go out in the middle of nowhere, hook up a generator, shoot the satellite shot in there, and transmit and receive internet that was really slow because of all the latency. But all of my qualifications were open book. So there.
And I know that this isn't as, I guess, meaningful as that, probably like government qualifications, but it's the same thing whenever I run the Umbraco trainings. I mean, also the Umbraco tests at the end of the exams or at the end of the courses are a little bit silly, and that's a whole different topic. But I always say this to the attendees and the trainees, and I'm saying the value that you're getting from this course is not in this like multiple choice question thing at the end of the day. It's about going through the workbook. It's about going through the exercises. And in the same way that if you were at your desk, you would be able to Google or open up or refer back to a page in a book, you should be able to do that during the exam too. Just my 2 cents.
And kids are actually learning that way today. A lot more common to have even in your highest level academic courses in high school, to be able to use reference material, because they throw so much at them. There's no way that they can contain it all for the test.
So speaking of strange interviewing practices, I'm going to hijack your hijack, Bob.
As is customary.
And we need to credit Kyle Weems for that, because I think he invented the hijacking of the hijacking. Anyway, so I took the Wonderlic test at a local place, and for the lay
Is
person,
that the football smarts test?
yes, they made me take a freaking Wonderlic test. And if you don't know what the Wonderlic test is, you usually give those to the quarterbacks at the combine, and it's a timed test. Usually I think there's 50 questions, but you only have 30 minutes to get through them all. And it's a rapid fire. So the idea is you probably won't finish, and every correct answer is 1 point and every wrong answer is minus point. And they tell you, like, don't spend a bunch of time on each one, because you'll get a high amount of accuracy, but you'll only get like 15 done, because 2 minutes on each one or something. So I don't know what my score was. I didn't get hired, so if that tells you probably what my score was. But I also came away with the interview, and this was the first interview. Very first interview. They had lunch with me, but it was more than trying to convince me that Linux was amazing, and I'm like, I don't really want to do Linux, But anyway, I felt like it was like totally like, what was the point of this? You're not going to hire me based on some test that is meaningless in my mind, and it kind of pissed me off. I'm like, why'd you do this to me? But anyway.
So do we know, is Wonderlic a methodology, or is it actually a set of questions?
We will need the fact checkers. Wonderlic, it might be actually a brand name, so it's the Wonderlic company, maybe. I'm just totally gonna, don't at me on Twitter.
Don't Google the Wonderlic company.
Yeah.
Probably gonna get you in trouble.
Let's create some show downtime. Let's all go Google it. Let's not say a word for the next 5 minutes. It'll be the best podcast ever, and we'll come back with our answers. Sound good? No, let's not do that.
It'll be similar to the beginning of the show when I screwed up the audio. So did that satisfy your itch there on that Twitter thread, or did it get any deeper, or any other insight on that? No, it just started going back and forth, and then it spawned a bunch of like side posts. So, I mean, obviously it's a practice that's happening in the industry. I've never experienced it because I don't think I've really actually interviewed as a developer. So,
well, I'm trying to think of my last few interviews. My current job, I didn't have an interview, and that may sound shocking or not, but it's basically because the people who hired me knew me. And then they're like, when can you start? And that's the best thing, because they already know what you can do. There's none of this posturing and this and that. And so that's like the one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum, I had so much trouble just like convincing them that I could, whatever you need, if it's a programming thing or a framework, I don't know, that's fine. I'm good at C#, JavaScript, yada, yada, yada. How, help me help you. They're like, well, you need to do Sitefinity, and if you don't bleed Sitefinity, whatever Sitefinity colors are, we will hate you. I'm like, well, I have this Umbraco background, and they're like, yes, we hate Umbraco. I'm like, why? We used version it's like pre 4, I think, and I'm like, well, did you know it's on like version 7 now? They're like, yeah, it's probably crap. I'm like, no, I got visibly upset in that interview, and needless to say, I didn't get the job. But I kept telling, in my mind, I kept saying, I will never work for this person. Never work for this person. You can dislike something, but the way you're presenting it to me is like absolutes, and I'm just like, no.
Right.
Nope.
So that goes back to the chemistry.
Oh yeah, chemistry is important.
Andrew, have you actually ever interviewed for any developer jobs?
I have not. No.
Okay, I didn't think so either, but I just
even with Umbraco, I essentially showed up to this one gentleman's house. His name was Paul Sterling, and it wasn't even, I thought it was going to be an interview. He's like, okay, like do this for the next month, and if it works, then like you can join. And then apparently it worked, because here I am.
That doesn't shock me that would be Paul's interview style.
No, it was awesome. It was very uncommon. But yeah, never interviewed for a
So I've had some awkward interviews where clearly I feel, and maybe it's ego getting away, but clearly I'm like, whoa, the person who will be my mentor can barely describe the system in technical terms. And then I've been asked by that person's boss in like a later interview, do you think you'd be okay working for so-and-so? And I actually on occasion said, you know what? I don't. And
well, at least it's honest.
Right. But the reaction you get back is like, wait, it was a multiple choice answer. You're not allowed to pick that one. You were supposed to say, yeah, you're supposed to be begging us for this job. And I actually went on to say, you know what? I think I would not fit in well here, because I think I'm farther along than your shop actually is in terms of how you operate. And that's just like provocative. They just like, whoa, and I can't believe I actually said this in an interview. But I knew, I'm like, I don't want this job anyway, and I'm just going to be like, okay, turn honesty to 11. Here we go. And you know what?
Sometimes that has a unforeseen outcome.
It does.
Yeah.
Do you think they learned anything from that?
I do. It was like this. They go. You could see they went through this. They kind of got offended to, oh, tell us, how can we do better? What are we missing? And then I'm like, looking at my watch going, I don't want this job, right? No, you don't have to go anywhere, right? You don't have to be anywhere. I'm like, but I don't want your job. And then, it's just like this weird dynamic, and that's only happened once. And it's just like, wow, I can't believe that just happened. I basically, how many times do you turn down a job, in an interview? A couple times I have. I went to a third interview, and usually the third interview is, all right, you want the job, right? Now let's talk some turkey. And then I got to the third interview, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want your job. And they're like, well, we haven't even talked numbers. Like, I know, but I did what you told me to do. I researched your company. I thought about what the job actually was and what my position would be. And you know what? I'm actually happy with what I got. And I hate to make it, then they feel like you wasted their time, but it's like dating, isn't it? Right. And if you take the job, you get married in a way. And then if you quit, you got divorced. But that whole dating time, it's all's fair in love and war, right?
Yeah.
Anyway. I just can't believe that they were treating you like you wasted their time when you were the one that, it's the pressure and the stress is all on you as the interviewee, not
all right. I don't know. Okay, we're hijacking the hijacker. I don't know. I think we're 3 layers deep on the call stack here. But speaking of Twitter threads, I also saw one where ghosting is apparently up. It's apparently millennials. I don't want to pick on millennials, but I like to pick on millennials. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so millennials and just people, the economy is so red hot right now. People are getting interviews and skipping out on them because they have so many choices. And apparently it's called ghosting.
Is that why there's so many choices? That's why they're not showing up?
Wow. That's apparently it. So, it's very much an employee's market right now. So,
Andrew, you work in an international company. Do you like most of the stuff that we're talking about? Do you feel like this stuff is isolated to us here in the States, or do you see?
No, I don't think it's isolated. I definitely and I'll speak for all millennials here, which I probably shouldn't do. No, I wouldn't even like to put myself in that boat, but it's just with everything as interconnected as it is now. Like, I mean, I can have conversations with people in my, I guess, like demographic from anywhere, and it seems to be pretty much the same trend. Well, I'll say like in North America and Europe. That's what I'll localize it to, and maybe Australia.
Are you a quote unquote millennial?
I think I am. Turning 26 here in just a couple days. Can you hear the plane?
I can hear the plane. That's great.
It's totally messing with Bob right now. Show note, Bob is an audiophile, and he can even detect my fan if I have it pointed just the right direction.
If I wouldn't have screwed up at the beginning, I would be really pissed off right now, but I'll totally let it slide. But it was just funny that there's a plane. Are you close to the airport?
Not really. It's like 15 miles the other direction.
Well, that's pretty close in airport terms. That's pretty close.
Well, Andrew, where are you presently on the globe?
I'm in Washington State for the next, couple of weeks.
So in the business, we call this an amazing segue, because we're going to go from Twitter tease to Andrew and like your Instagram. Can we talk a little bit about your Instagram stuff that you got going on right now? What's the handle for the listener? Or you got a couple, don't you?
Yeah. There's two. I have one that's like for lifting and like bodybuilding, and so that's Sparta Fitness. It's like Sparta, like Spartan, but with my last name's Barta with a B. So then I just put an S at the beginning, so it's like Sparta Fitness.
I don't get it. Can you explain?
Yes.
Okay. Please tell me more.
Sparta. So that one I just started in January, and then because I kind of got more into that, I guess like niche, and then the one that I've been doing since,
I think we lost Andrew. So this is also known in the business as, I don't know, improvise, vamp.
That's pretty funny, because I thought he was actually trying to look at his Instagram start date, and I wonder if he disconnected himself. Just for the record, I'm going to say that's because he's on Wi-Fi and not
oh, Bob.
Which is a flashback to an earlier part of the episode. So, do we think he's going to hop back in? Well, we're going to hope that he hops back in. But anyway,
I think he will.
So he was talking about Sparta Fitness, and I think he said he started that in January. But that's crazy.
How many followers has he got?
He's got 8,100, almost 8,200. He's 8,193 on that.
That's not bad. I can barely eke out like 5 followers, so that's not bad.
Yeah, and then the other one that he has is the 4 Seasons. It's like, was it 4 Seasons?
It was the 4x4 one. That one had 12,000 followers and he's only got 240 posts. That's like a terrible math, but it's like 60 followers per post. That's not too shabby.
Yeah, and it looks like he's trying to get back in.
What in the world?
Yep, there we go.
Hot mic. Oh boy, we can't see him. This sounds terrible.
He must be back in the house now.
I wonder if you realize this.
This is great audio right now.
Maybe we should.
Well, hang on. I'm going to find where I told you what Kevin and I have a pretty active Slack channel. So
can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
can.
can.
Oh my gosh.
First up, are you okay?
Yeah, I think my computer overheated.
What? Oh, you were outside. Dad Bob there, or whatever we're calling him, Dad. He kind of warned you, right? He just wanted you to go inside.
I totally would. Here's one of the disadvantages to hopping around so much is that I don't have like a peaceful location. There's a lot of ambient noise around me. So my parents are in and out of the house that I'm staying at because I'm just staying with them as I'm in Washington before I transition down to North Carolina. So
I thought it was maybe the ATF, the real one, coming to get you.
The real ATF coming. Yeah.
Somehow they're listening into our pre-recorded episode. Wow.
Okay, if we could take your temperature, you're probably feeling a little hot right now. So we'll try to slow it down here a little bit for you. What is tell us about your Sparta.
We were talking about Sparta Fitness.
Okay, yeah. So I've got two of them. That one I just started up earlier this year, and then the other one that I have that's I guess I started last summer it's Four Seasons Expedition. And Expedition is spelled without the E at the beginning, and it's just a big X.
Only millennials do that.
Yes, of course.
I'm kidding. I'm so kidding.
Oh, jeez. So we thought it was such a cool idea, but now it's really
inconvenient. You got 12,000 followers. You don't care what I think, right?
But it really is. It really is like one of those things where we always have to explain it that way. And now we're like, why didn't we just put the E at the beginning?
Like because it was taken.
No, I don't think it was.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just us thinking that the X was a cooler idea, but in practical sake, whatever, live and learn.
Extreme.
Extreme. But in all fairness, though, your Sparta Fitness that you said you just started up earlier this year.
Yep.
You're at over 8,000 already on that one too.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that people who made it through the technical difficulties would kind of wonder, how did you do that? First of all.
So I think it's going to slow down here in a bit, but essentially I'll let you in on my trade secret. And this is very, very, and I've already told you about this, Bob, and it might've been on our other show, but essentially Instagram has they expose certain functionality. Oh God, there's another plane. Dad, please don't kill me. This one's a loud one too. This isn't even a jet that's higher. I can hear the little prop.
So can we?
Yeah, of course. It'll be gone in just a second. But essentially,
I want to know the secret. Damn it, stay focused.
So I did that on purpose. I wanted to, really tease tension building. Yeah. So the secret, Instagram's exposing certain functionality via their API. That's actually going to end at the end of this month. But right now, what it allows you to do is that there's bots that can be programmed to perform certain actions like likes, comments, viewing other people's follow lists and like who they're following and who's following them. And so there's different programs out there that essentially allow you to go in there and do those actions, whether it be like, follow, unfollow, comment on somebody's profile. There's all these different options. So what I use is this program that essentially just follows and unfollows. What question?
Oh, I have a question. Yes. Pick me.
You, okay, sir, okay. Right there.
So wait a second. Conspiracy theory hat, engage.
Yeah.
Instagram, owned by Facebook, suddenly shuts down the API that lets you see people's stuff. Okay.
They did that because of the whole, it actually really upsets me. Well, it doesn't. Like you play by the rules that the platform allows. And I think that was changed because of all of the Facebook privacy issues. With that said, it just makes a new playing field. So it's not like it's nothing to fret about. It's also going to make it less spammy. Like I don't know if you guys ever get those random follows on Instagram, but it works. Like somebody will follow you because they know that you're interested in a certain topic, and it's just a better way to get an audience. Like it's a better way because if you're too small, you're not going to show up in the the Discover feed, but you will show up in their notifications. So it's just another chance to be seen, essentially.
So do both your accounts show up in the Discover?
Sometimes they do. You can look at the metrics
when that happens.
You can look at each individual post metrics, and sometimes it'll say like discovered by either hashtags, homepage, discover page, whatever else it may be.
I have so much to learn about Instagram, but apparently Instagram had Russian bots as well, and nobody really ever talked about that. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Andrew, what did you know and when did you know it?
I don't know anything. Talk to my lawyer. Yeah.
Well, so Twitter just went through a reaping, right? They just killed off like 50,000 or 50 million Twitter accounts, right? And like President Obama lost like 3 million follows or something ridiculous. So I would assume Instagram goes through this regularly. And because the API is going to get shot down, and you mentioned the word bots, do you think a reaping is coming for Instagram?
I hope so. That would be awesome.
Who would do the reaping, though? Basically, Facebook. Right. Yeah. They're not going to do the reaping.
Especially after today's investor call, right?
Right, because then they will lose more users.
That's true.
That's true.
Show note, Facebook lost 20% in after hours trading and pre-show today.
So what you're saying is that it's on sale right now and we should all go snatch up some Facebook stock.
It is down, but it's on sale for $170 a share, and I still can't afford even one. Back to you guys.
Andrew does not live 15 miles from the airport. I swear to God, he's right fucking next door.
I muted it.
I heard you. Oh, well, when the plane passes over, we have some more questions.
So, and I'll kind of segue here just real quick. That is just step one, is essentially another way to gain an audience. They're not going to follow your page unless you've got content that's relevant to them. So the next part is like honestly having consistent and good content, which I have not been as on top of recently.
I thought you were going to be, and I think it's pretty darn good myself. I have to ask you, what is your truck's name? Because it steals the show in every picture. I want to know.
It doesn't have one.
What?
I have been asked that question numerous times, and people have thrown out names, and not one has stuck.
Clearly, it has its own agent. I mean, it gets a lot of screen time.
Yeah, it does.
So you've got 240 posts and 12,000 followers. That's some pretty good follower to post, whatever that metric is. And I was looking at it. So it's 4 season, or what is it? It's 4x4, 4 season. Shoot.
Nope, it's 4 seasons expedition.
Okay. With the X. That's awesome. Oh, did we lose Andrew again?
Shit. I think we lost him.
Man.
I bet you he has an Apple computer.
Ooh, too soon? No, it's not too soon for that.
I don't think any of my Windows machines have ever overheated. Have yours?
Well, no, but now that you brought that up, the new MacBook Pro i9, did you see that's overheating?
Oh, maybe that's what he has.
We'll have to ask him.
Isn't it like $9,000?
It's ridiculous. You know what? Let's make MacBook Pro good again. We can do without the hats though. But the last good MacBook Pro was 2013, in my humble opinion. And sorry, how did we get on Macs that quickly? Damn, that was fast. So Andrew is still gone. Maybe one of those planes got too close to him.
Could be. Oh, and we've lost the visual. We've lost the frozen visual feed. So let's tangent riff on this, because we've talked about this a little bit with the Apples and the. So there was a time when developers were totally latching on to the Macs. Are they still doing that?
Developers? No, I think there's a revolt. So, Mr. Barta, nice of you to join us.
Look, he's indoors.
I'm here again.
It's like he's in a different house. He keeps moving around.
Oh my gosh, can you see how sweaty I am? It's crazy hot out here.
He does live the nomadic lifestyle, so it's just funny that he switched locations 3 times during this podcast.
So we decided your Instagram is awesome and it's got enough some pop right now. So now we've decided, conspiracy theory, that you have one of the new MacBook Pros, the i9s, and it's just overheating. What say you?
Surface Book Gen 1.
Oh shit.
That was my second guess.
I actually, and side note on that, I actually have 3 Surface Books right now because I had one and the lithium ion battery was expanding.
Battery bloat.
Battery bloat. And then they're like, oh no, we have to take care of this. And then they kept sending them to me. I'm like, no, stop sending them. Like, I'm just going to go into the store. And I kept asking them to cancel the orders. And they're like, nope, too late. They're being sent to you. And then I went and took care of it at the store. So now I've got some extra ones that I need to somehow get back to them.
Yeah, anyway, that's what I was going to ask you. How many extra? That's awesome.
Two extra. They're just like untouched. So I need to get,
Okay, weird. Andrew. So while you were gone, we switched topics on you. And we are talking about the MacBook Pro. So the question that Bob asked was, are developers still in love with the MacBook Pro, or have they moved on? And what do you think?
I don't know. I mean, they just released that new one that has a 4 terabyte solid state hard drive, which is pretty cool, but it also costs like $6,000.
Yeah, and it's also the one that overheats. That's funny because while you were gone and mentioning overheating, you can get a Core i9 option on that, but it actually thermally throttles down the speed when it overheats. And
Interesting.
There's a video on YouTube showing where if you want to get your full i9 speed, you have to put it in a freezer. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So Andrew, you train a lot of developers though in the training programs. Are you seeing, fewer MacBooks, more MacBooks, same MacBooks? Because a lot of time, from a long time, they were MacBook with Parallels or Boot Camp or whatever it was that they were running Windows inside their Mac because that is the cool thing to do.
I see about the same, which is like probably one for every 20 developers.
All right. Are they newer ones? Are they the ones that I really hate with no escape key and the little stupid thing on the above the function thing? The really cool feature that I really hate. Okay. I have a lot of haterade here, but are they old MacBook Pros or are they new MacBook Pros?
They've become new with time. So 2 years ago, they didn't have those stupid little, hater. Stupid. The feature that I think is kind of silly. I've never had it, so I can't hate, right? But
all right. So
and now the new ones are coming out.
So I would like to mention we're pretty well into this episode without actually talking about our topic. This happens on occasion. So awkward segue alert. Let's switch over and let me ask some provocative questions to the both of you, if you don't mind. So I was recently given the ability or the option to try a product for free so long. Actually, there was no strings attached, but they wanted me to write a blog review, good or bad. Now, I was like, gosh, this is like a first time. This has never happened to me. But part of me is like, you know what? I don't want to be bought by somebody in their product. So I turned them down. Then I ran a Twitter poll. What should I have done, Twitter? And it really came down to people said I should have taken it, or I should have taken it and disclaimed, yes, I took this free product, but I want to tell you that it's free. So you're in the Instagram game. You might have been contacted by sponsors, maybe not. Bob, I don't know if you've gotten any free like Amazon things or maybe like some anti-glare wipes or anything. Sorry, that was really mean. So what do you guys think? We'll go around the room here on products and how can you stay true to your fan base and be non-biased? Andrew, to you.
Yeah, so this is a perfect segue. What we're dealing with right now on the truck one, we got sent like these little fasteners for floor mats that the guy wanted us to review. And I'm pretty happy with them, but the guy that I run the truck page with, who has the Tundra, he put the holes in his floor mats and then he tried to attach the thing to the baseboard, but it just kept shattering the little bolt. So he's super unsatisfied with it. And we've emailed them and we're looking for like a resolution, but they sent us the product and wanted us to review because we've got like a decent sized audience. And the only way that we can be good to our audience is to give like our honest review. And that's that Scott, the other guy that I run it with, he's really unhappy and he's going to tell his reasons why. And that we are in contact with them and we're hoping for a resolution. And I'm going to share mine that I'm happy with it, but I don't think it's that durable.
Bob. Wait, hang on, but I have some follow-up questions. So for Kevin, you guys can take turns answering this. Question for Kevin. So they told you could write a review even if it was bad on the blog?
And they did.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. They really?
Yeah, so they're... But here's my problem with that. Even though I say, hey, here's something free, I think like by virtue of getting something free, you're almost prejudiced immediately because you're given something free. Hey, I don't want to seem like I'm ungrateful, right? You gave me something out of thin air. If I don't want to seem ungrateful, maybe I should give it a second chance if I really didn't like it. So I was fighting that urge and I ended up just saying, you know what? Your product's great. I've actually used your product before, but it's way overpriced, and I just don't want to have anything. I don't want to endorse it by doing this. And I think he was like, "Whoa, you don't want this free thing." And I think I offended him by not taking it.
So my question for Andrew is, how did they want you to review the product? Did they want you to do like an Instagram live? Did they want you to do just an Instagram video post? Did they want a blog? How did they want you all to review the product?
They weren't specific on it. They just said, hey, if we send you some of these, would you mention us or give it a review and let us know your thoughts? That was pretty much so that was pretty much and it's not inexpensive. It's like $15 to $30 depending on what kit you get. So it's nothing expensive. And it just comes down to me. You can't build an audience without providing value. So it all comes back to the value that you're providing. And whatever platform that is, it's the value. And so whatever the review is, I'm totally on board with doing them, sponsorships, whatever it may be. But it has to be your completely honest opinion. Even if it's not good for the company that sent the product, then I think it's still better because that's what people are looking for. And those are the questions that they're asking themselves before they buy a product. And so to get that information from somebody firsthand, that's the value provided.
Now, were you guys approached on the SPOD at all? Because I mean, that seems like a pretty nice post on the
Nope.
source.
No, we weren't. We reached out for a couple different vendors for sponsorship for expensive things like wheels and tires. And then we've been approached for a bunch of like little small things. So nothing big yet, but so the S-Pod was one, like, I think that's like $700 or $800 for that like piece of equipment for your truck. And that's just something that we're trying to provide value for, something that we bought that we really enjoyed and that we wanted to let people know about.
Right. You know that other enthusiasts would be interested in a product like this for their truck. So,
yep.
And you guys wanted one anyway. Now, are you guys an LLC or anything like that together? Because like that could be a write-off, right?
Yep. We are running it through Barta Consulting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a business expense then.
Maybe. Talk to his lawyers.
It could have been. It wasn't at this point. Well, because that was for Scott's. Like when I do mine, I'll run it through the business, but he doesn't have access to I didn't issue him like a company card, so he doesn't have one yet. But we're still such like small scale that we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
So how long ago did you ask about the sponsorships for the tires and stuff like that?
I was I think we were like 8,000.
And have you heard back from them yet?
Yeah. So interesting little tidbit there. They actually said, they're like, we really like your brand and we're going to continue watching you grow, but we watched your account for a couple of days and we saw your follower count increase and decrease, making us think that you're using a bot. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
so they were smart.
Yeah. I wanted to contact them about it and I haven't done it yet. And it's not something I wanted to push at all. But it just came back to me. They're completely right. We were using a bot to do those actions. But again, if it comes back to what is Instagram allowing via their API, they're the ones that are setting the rules. And if it's something that they allow, like, is that something you don't want? Because we're actually using marketing tactics to get a bigger audience. Wouldn't you want to associate with that brand as opposed to one that's not able to get the word out there as much? So I guess it's just how you perceive it.
So what do you think about regramming? Are you familiar with the concept of regramming? Basically taking somebody else's post, screenshotting it, and posting it on your account. So I've seen a lot of people do that. People have done that to mine. Like I was doing some drawings earlier this year. I'm like, yeah, here's a like, here's a follow, great. And then I was looking through a hashtag. I'm like, hey, there's my picture. Cool. Let me click on it. And it took me to somebody else's account. I'm like, whoa, whoa. And then they had a ton of likes because they have a ton of followers. So they basically hijacked my image and went from there.
Did they give you credit?
They did not.
See, now that's a problem.
And I called them out and they said, oh, okay, we're sorry. There you go. But how many times does it happen, when you don't discover it and don't call somebody out? And those accounts actually get a ton of followers. And they get a ton of promotional, there's value there because, they look like they have all the good content. Really, they're just aggregating other people's content and not always, a lot of times, not giving credit. So what's your thought on Instagram maybe policing that at all?
I don't think it would be nice if they did police it, but it's kind of, I guess it's not. If people took our content, whether it be from my truck page or my Sparta fitness page, and if you look at my Sparta page, like I have occasional posts from other people that I've like reposted, but I always make sure to tag them, like give them credit, like go follow this person. I don't think it's worth Instagram. Like essentially if people are reusing your content and let's say they don't give you credit, then hopefully some people will. And honestly, it's more of a benefit than it is taking away from you. Like, sure, it might be like adding to them, but it's definitely not taking away anything from you.
So Twitter's got retweet. Instagram doesn't have like a retweet or what we might call a regramming, like a native thing. Do you think having some sort of Instagram regram button where it automatically tags and just pulls that image into your feed, do you think that would be useful at all?
I think that would probably oversaturate it. I kind of like the fact that it's a little bit more of like a challenge. Like, it has to be a really conscious effort to post somebody else's content. It almost has to be like planned between the people. Not always, but like, because you can always just screenshot and then do it. But I think it would become really oversaturated if people could just hit a button and then repost other people's stuff.
So
there is a repost app though that like runs as a sidecar. There not? Okay.
There is.
Just not native to Instagram.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's just my 2 cents.
Back to, well, this is kind of along the same lines. So we've talked about promotions or sponsorships. We've talked about kind of product reviews. With your Sparta Fitness, has anyone approached you like about being, because you're getting up to those numbers too, a social media influencer, where like a company has approached you and said, hey, I know you do your proteins, you do your pre-workout, your post-workout. Would you do ours and talk about it? I guess that's still like a review of sorts, but
yeah, and sponsorship too. But yeah, I've been contacted by, I don't know, probably like 7 or 8 different companies, and those are like only one I've taken seriously, and that was it's called Muscle Farm. It's like, and then farm is spelled with a P. It's like the green logo. Yeah.
Like expedition with an X, right?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm keeping track of what all the cool kids are doing.
Well, it's PH Farm because it's, it's science. It's muscle.
Because it's science. But yeah, they're the only ones that I took seriously, and like a brand that I would actually know and would represent. But yeah, it's getting to that point where people are reaching out, which is nice, because that's kind of cool to see. And it wasn't going to be like I don't think it was going to be any sort of monetary benefit. They were going to give me $200 worth of product a month, which is a ton. Like, that's a lot of protein and creatine. So I would have taken it. And actually, I'm still in touch with those guys. So I don't know where that stands right now, but
right. So if you're normally buying the product and then company approaches you, why wouldn't you just wave it in? Because obviously you're already endorsing the product by using it.
So I actually don't use Muscle Farm right now, but what it comes down to for me, the reason I'm okay associating with them is because the only supplements I use are protein and creatine. Pretty much wherever you go, the protein that you're going to get is very similar to the next one. There are differences out there, and creatine monohydrate should just be creatine monohydrate. There's nothing special there. So it didn't really matter to me what name brand I went with. It's going to be, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So that's why I was okay going with that one.
So I've actually approached my kids. Kevin doesn't even know about this, so breaking show news. Talk to my kids about social media and being social media influencers, and like how that pricing arrangement would go. Because for something like a podcast, let's say, you find a social media influencer who's just basically kind of got a low-level lifestyle brand, but I mean, it's not like they're not selling anything; they're just building followers organically to, like, how would you price out, hey, why wouldn't you, we'll give you a price for boosting listens on an episode kind of thing. Like, obviously you don't have any accounts that would fit for that because you have very specific brand that you're locked into. But have you been involved or you know anybody who's been doing that social media influencer kind of drop a post that seems innocuous, but it's really is promoting some other service product to drive traffic?
Nothing that's innocuous. All the people that I know that are kind of in that realm, they're pretty transparent about it. So like even on Instagram, it'll say like paid partnership with, or they'll just be like, I have a partnership with this company, go use this code.
So do you think those relationships exist outside that paid partnership to make them look completely organic?
Probably. That doesn't sound very like forthright, which I wouldn't be in support of, but yeah, they probably exist.
So let me look at it a little higher level. Do you guys, when you guys see other people's promoted stuff, I mean, you're insiders, you kind of know how it works. Do you find that yourself, are being influenced, will you actually, pick an Instagram feed that you really like and you see a product they're pushing. Do you give it more credence because you like that channel and that product's been endorsed by that channel? Does that have any effect, or is it, I don't care, it don't matter?
For me personally, it does.
Okay. For you, it's definitely, hey, this channel I follow is pushing this product. I might try it. There's a bit of credibility that goes with that.
Yep, absolutely. And it just comes back to the whole value added to me. So if it's a brand that has given me, or a brand or a person that's given me a lot of value in the past, I'll take their word for it and give it a shot.
What about you, Bob?
It's such a strange, my gut reaction is like, oh no, that would totally, I don't place any extra value on that. But to be completely honest, I'm a huge Onnit person.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of their products. And part of the reason why I ever got into them was their affiliation with Joe Rogan, their affiliation with tons of top level athletes across all different fields. Those are paid partnerships. Joe Rogan's a part owner, so that's different. But those affiliations helped drive me. And I am and it turns out that I do get lots of benefits from the product, but the initial dip into the pool was because of the corporate or the celebrity endorsements.
That's good.
Awkward segue alert. Sorry, told you it was awkward. All right, let's look at Amazon. Amazon in 2016 banned any reviews that said that I got this product because, I'm reviewing this product because I got it free from so-and-so. So officially it's banned, but you still see a bunch of reviews. So if we look at the reviews on Amazon, how many times have you looked at the reviews and go, now come on, this can't be right? And, I've read a lot of blog posts where it's like a ridiculous amount, up to 40, 50% of all reviews on Amazon are fake. Especially, if you look at your creatines or your supplements, those are even more probably prone to falsehoods. What credence do you guys place in Amazon reviews?
Go Andrew first on this one.
I would not put much importance on them. And the reason why is because Becky K from Nebraska is just random.
You know Becky too?
Oh my gosh, crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's because I have no idea who that person is. So the review doesn't hold much weight. Whereas, and it depends on the review too. If it's really in depth, they got the pros and cons, some pictures added in that looks like it's from their house, I might take the word for it. But a lot of the time they're just some 2 sentences. Great product, met my expectations, whatever. Doesn't really mean much. And that's where the brand association with these social platforms, that's why that holds so much more weight than it would just some person on an Amazon review.
What about you, Bob?
I'm a total sucker for Amazon Choice, which I have no idea how much validity that carries, but I am a sucker for that rating. But if I'm buying a household thing.
Well, time out. What is Amazon Choice?
When you do a search and you'll get a product listing.
Oh yeah, the little badge.
You'll have a little brown badge that says Amazon Choice. So,
gotcha.
That has totally influenced me. If I'm buying something for the house, something that I'm looking for it to function, I will dive into the reviews and look for those exact things that Andrew just mentioned. Photos of it in place, pros, cons. Setup issues. But I will look at the ratio of the number of star ratings to the actual overall rating. And, I tend to be more, I do look for those ones that, are as close to a 4 and bleeding over as possible. When something's way pegged out at 5, I'm a little leery of those, but I do look at the number more than the rating.
So the way I do it is I do my search, I look for 4 or higher. And once I get into one of those, the first thing I do is go to 1-star reviews and go, tell me why, because I'm going to get my most honesty probably right there. So tell me why you absolutely hate it. And if it's the 1-star review of, I couldn't put it together, it took me 3 hours to put it together. Ooh, okay. This might be a winner. I might buy this thing because if that's the worst you got, I might be a buyer there. But
I'll take that challenge.
The rebuttal question to both of you is how does Amazon filter out legit versus non-legit? It's almost like asking how does Facebook do truthiness versus untruthiness? Is it even possible to do with product reviews?
I'm going to tell you what, doing this podcast has probably done the most damage to my trust in humanity of anything that I've ever done. I'd
like to take this time to offer anyone who wants a Bob and Kevin Show tinfoil hat, let me go to the grocery store and buy a roll of Reynolds wrap, and I will send it to you for $99. Okay, back to you, Bob.
Deal.
We have questioned so much stuff on here, and on the surface, it seems so like base level, but when you start to dive into it, we're talking about things that shape our perception of reality. As silly as that sounds, Amazon reviews, Facebook posts, tweets,
Instagram.
Yeah, it totally factors into how we filter the world around us, and that's like
I almost feel like we're on some like modern version of the Truman Show, with Jim Carrey, where we're the unsuspecting star, and all of this data has been gathered about us, and then every screen I look at, it's like, oh, that's exactly what I wanted. How did you know? Well, it's because you fucking harvested all this shit on me for the last decade, and my God, finally you got it right. But now I'm pissed because now you know way too much about me. So yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so I don't think they can filter them.
I don't think they can filter them. And this is a bit of a hijack, but that gets brought up so often, the amount of data that these companies have on you. And maybe it's because of my age. I love it. It's like, if you can target me with exactly the things that I'm interested in and show me the deals that are out there for it, great. Keep it coming. Like, I am all, I know. And people look at that and they're like, heck no, like that's way too much into my privacy. And I'm just like,
Hey, Andrew, I'm going to somehow steal your identity and browse the internet, with your identity so they can just
bombard me with the most random things.
So when you get like 1980s toys like show up in your like suggested buys, you can know I've successfully hijacked your identity.
I'll be waiting for that day. I'll make sure to tweet at you when it happens.
I hate to say it, but I yearn for the year 2000. Like, that's 2 with 3 zeros. E-commerce, even though it's really unsafe, at least at this time, at that time, they weren't harvesting every little button click about me. And you could buy those things that come in the brown boxes that are really inconspicuous, if you know what I'm saying, Bob. So anyway, so that I miss that sort of like level of privacy where when I go buy something, it's all right. Oh, yeah.
I know that's what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. You know what I miss? Being able to go to the store and it's just between me and the cashier. And that's all that needs to happen. Just me and the cashier. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I gotta feel that.
Because I feel like in the year 2018, e-commerce is just like this data point. I don't want to be a data point to everything. I just want to. That's why I almost think there'll be a resurgence one day of brick and mortar. Maybe I'm crazy, like living in the past guy, but maybe one day we're not going to have Blockbusters again. Sorry, everyone. But I think Target, Walmart, and rest in peace, Toys R Us. Some of those places, will have purpose. I don't think we'll ever fully phase them out. Bob, you're shaking your head.
Those places exist right now only as tax write-offs for those immensely giant online properties.
And the moment that they can have drones fly to your door within 20 minutes, those things are going to be gone.
Oh man, you guys are killing my dream here. Gosh,
I'm hoping that they can make green spaces and grow crops, maybe factory farm a bunch of cattle.
So you're saying they're going to put a bulldozer through my local Walmart when it's no longer tax viable?
Yes.
Here's what happened in my little town. We had a Sam's Club, and it was providing over $1 million a year in tax revenue to our city. And they decided to convert it into a distribution center. So it no longer generates tax revenue for our town. It still takes up the same footprint and employs, I think, a third of the staff. And they're making more money from it. So there's your brick and mortar story there, Kevin.
Well, yeah, that's not
so
a good one there. How about mom and pops? Do they have? Toys R Us went out of business, and now we're just totally all over the place. Toys R Us went out of business, and I always thought, now there's a gap for toy stores. I'm a sucker for like toys. I never grew up. The kid that never grew up. So, I want to open a toy store one day, but I really almost think I can never do that because I can never compete with the almighty internet, the almighty Amazon.
No, because you get crushed by inventory.
And buying power and logistics. And every time I go to Europe, I'm always like, hell yeah, if I need groceries, I'm walking 2 blocks down, getting my bread and my butter and eggs, and I'm walking back to my flat. Here in America, it's like, no, I'm going to get in my compact car. I'm going to drive to the big box store. I'm going to buy about a week's worth of stuff because, I don't want to have to come back. And then I go back home and then I say, Walmart's evil. And then I go back to the next week to Walmart because it's the lowest price in town and I'm part of the problem. Damn, this sucks.
Sounds about right.
The cycle. All right. Well, I'm out of answers.
Andrew, I want you to go back and listen to the podcast episode 2. Is Facebook bad for you? And that will give you a lot of highlights on how Kevin and I look at the data collection and privacy issues.
Okay.
I'm probably not as far as you are on the spectrum, but I'm definitely still north of Kevin on optimism.
Oh yeah,
and being okay with data.
Yeah. Okay, I'll have to go back and listen.
Yeah.
I can talk about that for you.
Spoiler alert, I deleted my Facebook account earlier this year. So that's about how I feel.
Wait, do you have Instagram?
Yes.
Actually, I have about 2 or 3 of those. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Wait,
hypocrite alert. Yeah.
You have to have a Facebook account to run Instagram.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. They can be independent. Correct. They can be independent.
Since when?
Now you had to have set those up
through Facebook.
Well, no, prior to their deep connectivity. So if you had an account set up, like I would say maybe 2-3 years ago, you're fine. Maybe it is now. It has to be deeply connected, but you could have an independent one. Because I started my Instagram a long time ago. So
okay, yeah. Now, if you Google how to start an Instagram, it's go to your Facebook profile.
So does anyone else? Okay, Monopoly alert. Yeah, I'm beating a dead horse according to Bob. As a younger person, Andrew, does it bother you that we only have a few people as the overlords? We got Google, Microsoft, Apple, and Facebook. Those are our main overlords, where Facebook owns the top 3 apps, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook. There's really no competition. If you say, what, big number ones, 2 fingers up, and an FU to Facebook, and you want to go somewhere else, there is nowhere else to go. And on some, the very libertarian view is, well, good for Facebook. They've conquered the hill. Yeah, America. And then, the me goes, well, free market unchecked gets us to where we're at, where we have single choices, and if it's a take it or leave it. So does it bother you at all that Facebook is kind of got so much social media power?
No, it doesn't for me. And the reason why is because, do you guys listen to music?
Yes. Is that where they have instruments and stuff?
Yeah. Where they sometimes there's beats. I think it's vibrations that go into your ear holes.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Okay. What do you guys use to listen to music? What application?
Oh my God.
I use my Walkman.
Your Walkman? Walking with your Walkman on? Okay, that's cool.
Andrew, I'm going to really disappoint you. I recently bought a turntable.
A turntable? That doesn't disappoint me. That's awesome.
Do I get any points because it's Bluetooth enabled?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. 100%. You just got 10,000 points extra. And
I realized turntable doesn't rhyme with Spotify or Pandora or any of that stuff. So, man, I must be on my own. I'm in the old man now. I must be next door neighbors to Bob.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Wait, so Kevin, you don't use any music services?
0. I have
Wow.
Amazon Prime, gives you like a very limited offering. And so when I have my Alexa, I'm moving, Andrew, so my house is like 99.9% bare, but I have
Okay.
Alexa devices, and sometimes I'll say, "Hey, Alexa, play, Top Pop or whatever," or, what. That's about as deep as I get. But if I want to like totally get into like, give me some coding music, I'll get out the LP, scratch the record a little bit, hit Bluetooth, put on and go, oh yeah. So that's what I do, Bob. Sorry to disappoint you.
I use all the services. My Sonos system has pretty much it's got Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio.
Doesn't that cost a bunch though? Don't you have to subscribe to all those?
Yeah.
Oh man.
So here's the really funny thing.
I have 3 children.
Wow.
So here's the thing that I wanted to point out, circling back to your question, Kevin. Does it bother me about Facebook being kind of a monopoly in a sense? Bob, you just mentioned a bunch of music streaming services, and you didn't mention iTunes or Apple Music.
That's because I forgot.
Right, but I'm sure that you have it. I'm sure that you have Apple Music if it's one of those things, but you didn't mention it by name. And that kind of brings my point right there, is that if you went back 8 years ago and you asked where you get your music from, it was iTunes. Okay. And then the reason why it got supplanted was because something better came out. And so Spotify, Amazon Music, all these things. So once Facebook isn't serving anymore, which I would actually say Facebook is, it's becoming more, it's not being used the same way that it used to be by the demographic that it was. It's changing. And now Instagram is like hitting that demographic. The next thing will come up, and Facebook might be able to buy them too, but it will.
Wait. So you might be agreeing with me on like a minuscule atomic level that maybe one day they'll be supplanted by something cooler because they're going to be like old.
Oh yeah, they absolutely will be. I mean, it's going to change with the times. Like something better will come along, or that's not necessarily true. Or Facebook will change with the times. Essentially, if they're not meeting the requirements of the audience that they need to, something else will come along.
So they were going to get supplanted by Instagram, but then we all know how that ended.
Yeah.
See, that comes back to my monopoly. Now,
but that's just smart by Facebook.
It is, but it's bad for the market, in my opinion. We have antitrust laws.
Because something else could come up too. And if it comes up, then they'll buy that up too. But it doesn't, I don't see it as a problem because if something comes up that's going to challenge Facebook's market.
So one thing that I really hate is when somebody says, well, how old are you? And you don't know the struggle. But guess what? You don't know the struggle, Andrew. Because AT&T got broke up, Standard Oil got broke up, and I think Facebook should be broke up.
Broke up Facebook. Hashtag break up Facebook.
Wow. Between airplanes and Kevin putting his mic halfway down his throat, this is just going to be like a terrible audio production episode.
Whatever, Bob.
What airplanes? What are you talking about? I've been inside this whole time.
I feel like this whole Facebook monopoly. I just want to mention Vero. That's going to be the Facebook killer. No,
I don't even know what that is.
It's a social media.
What I think will kill Facebook is when they get that endorsement from AARP, because Facebook's going to like that super old demographic. And then, like you see like this retirement home promoted ad, like scroll by for you. That's going to kill Facebook when people finally realize, okay, enough's enough. We're not, this is not the cool thing. Actually, I think millennials already moved on. Am I right, Andrew? They're kind of on to other stuff. You use Facebook because, there are people there, but not because you want to. Is that accurate?
No, I would actually just say that Facebook's changed. So it used to be it used to be what Instagram is now, but it's changed from that into like a news source and also event planning. So like coordinating with groups, you use Facebook for that. You wouldn't use Instagram or Twitter or anything else. Before
I deleted my Facebook this year, I had 2 primary functions. Post a bunch of pictures of my kids that I knew nobody wanted to see. And then 2, I went, shit, it's so-and-so's birthday today, and I totally forgot. Those are the 2 functions.
It is the best birthday calendar app on the market.
Outside of that, it has no value to me, and that's why I deleted it, because I'm like, I just don't want to play this game anymore. Anyway.
Yep. And the only thing that I use it for, I've got such outdated pictures on there, and I haven't even gone and looked at like my profile. The only thing I use that for is like event planning.
Well, I'm glad I deleted it, because if I ever rob a bank, and I always watch these like shows where they like, first thing the cops do is go find your Facebook profile and like, find your friends and all. So I'm
You're going to
setting
be in the clear.
Yeah, so after a year or two of being off the Facebook grid, I'm clear to rob some banks or two, and then the cops will just be like, I don't know, we normally go to Facebook. Have you seen this picture? No, he must not be on Facebook. So
he has no digital footprint.
yeah,
He's a ghost.
So that's my long game right there.
There you go, robbing banks.
Yes.
Well, I'm going to take this opportunity in the lull in the conversation to just kind of say that I was so proud of us for being so focused today and really tackling the topics at hand. And I had a great time, and I hope our listeners did too. I'm actually going to turn it over to Andrew here to give some closing thoughts, and then he can flip it on over to Kevin.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to both Bob and Kevin for having me on. I love doing this sort of thing and getting the different input from various people. So just thank you to you both for having me on. And if you haven't, go check out those Instagram handles, Sparta Fitness 4 Seasons Expedition.
With an X.
With an X, no E. Oh, geez.
All right. So my final closing is if you want that signed and autographed Bob and Kevin Show tinfoil hat, just hit us up at Bob and Kevin Show on Twitter or to bobandkevin.show in your browser, and we'll take your money and figure out what the heck an actual BK tinfoil hat actually looks like. And we have one more piece of business, and it's over to you, Bob.
Bring the light.